should say thanks for sticking around all day, right?
You know, and it's funny, they were just talking about being in the right place. I think the people in between dinner, probably not the right place. So for those of you that stuck around, you're in for a real treat. Reason being, this is probably one of the most interesting people I've met in the industry, without exaggeration. Yeah, so, you know, in our setup call, because there is a lot of pre-work done. So for those of you that have either been a panelist or have been a moderator, there's quite a significant amount of work that gets done behind the scenes that you may not understand or appreciate. But, you know, there's some work involved. So, you know, my hat's off to the Brand Innovators people. These are really great events. You being on the board, obviously, you're a big fan. So these are really great, and especially the in-person events are huge. So when we spoke, it kind of surprised me with this really incredible journey that I'm really jealous about. You know, there's this huge trend on TV that's been going on for a few years now, survivalist stuff, going out into the woods, living off the land. And you had a pretty interesting experience. So why don't you tell everybody, let me stop talking.
Yeah, I'm not sure I lived off the land. I lived out of gas station food for a month going across the state of Colorado. So for those of you who may not know, well, if you live here, you know you live in one of the best places in the whole world. The Colorado Trail runs, it does. Yeah, that's worth sharing for, yes. The Colorado Trail is an absolute gem. If you want somewhere to give dollars, the Colorado Trail Foundation is just an incredible organization. The trail was actually designed by a woman. Her name is Goody. Go learn about her. She's amazing. It was meant to be a tour of this beautiful state. And it starts just outside of Denver and in Littleton and makes its way 100 miles to Breckenridge and then to Leadville and then to Salida-ish, and then goes to Durango. It's about 500 miles, and friends would ask me, like, what are you doing? I don't know. I'm gonna hike about 500 miles, about 100,000 feet of climbing. It's like going from sea level to the top of Everest about 3.5 times. No big deal, right? And I kind of pridefully got into this rhythm. That's what I would tell people. And then it hit me, like I made this really crazy choice to come do this thing. And I wanted to bring us back to what we're talking about here today. I really was looking to clear my head and find a place where I could be inspired again. And as I cleared my head, I found a lot of demons in my own head, and I found a lot of inspiration. And anyway, you all are in an amazing place to live here and have such a beautiful gem around you. But I'll say there's let me just keep going here. There is a phrase, a saying in the thru hiker community called "hike your own hike," and it essentially means like each person needs to go at their own pace, do their own thing, and it's one where as brands, oftentimes we can look at our competitors, we can look at a friend, we can look at another product, and we oftentimes find ourselves chasing somebody else because somebody seems to have some advantage, or you know, that might be, they might be a little bit ahead of us in terms of time to market, or they might have a feature that we think is really important. And having been in technology my entire career, I found this a lot. And sometimes it was me, and other times it was an executive who came down, did you see what so-and-so did? We need to have an answer to that as well. And what happens? Everybody, you know, the more senior it is, everybody turns from your orientation. Let's say your brand direction's here, and somebody says, you know, this and very senior, and everything turns. And it's really hard to move yourself back to where you were. It's really, really hard. So how did I learn that on the trail? I spent months and months and months planning, planning. And I had a spreadsheet of where I was going to be at a certain time and how I was going to get there. And from the very first moment, like the plan was out the window. And I thought, I'm fine, I'm flexible. And then on the second day, I was up really, really early because I wanted to catch up because I was behind my plan. And I left so early that I knew I was the first person out on the trail. And there was a lot of people generally as you started getting going. And the first person passed me. And I went, ooh, I'm in second place. And then the next person passed me and I'm like, I'm in third place, still on the podium. And then the fourth person, and I went, well, mountain biking podium has 5 slots. So I'm still there, and I'm pushing faster and faster to go and do this, not hiking my own hike. I'm doing the same thing that a senior executive comes in and says, did you see what so-and-so did? You better go some other direction. And before I got to the next place for water, about an hour before, I'm completely out of water. I'm completely wiped out. When I finally like drag my little prideful body into this spot, I'm in tears. The people who passed me, it didn't matter. They were half my age, all coming out of high school or college and just kind of running and having a great time. I was not being authentic to myself. I was not hiking my own hike. It was the same thing that drives me crazy in the office, and having worked at a bunch of big companies and small companies, this happens every time, right? You get distracted, and I was distracted from who I was. And it took me days to quit crying and to quit wishing, and sometimes point every single day, right? Like, can I get out of here? Can I get out of here without losing face? My kids sending messages going, you got this, you can go do it. I'm like, I just want to stop. Because I wasn't being true to myself, wasn't being true to my brand.
I mean, what a crazy, amazing Forrest Gump-like story. Incredible. And just the transformational introspection of being alone, facing those demons head on, no one really to consult with, in your own head. So, you talk about the lessons of hike your own hike. When it comes to leadership, when it comes to how that's changed the way in which you now operate, how has that really impacted the way you show up today versus before your hike?
Yeah, so I had a little satellite device with me so I could send a few messages here and there. And it started on the first day. My apologies to my wife, my apologies to my family, my apologies to a few people at work. And those apologies were, I am such a hard-headed pain in the, because even though I come from my professional upbringing is research and testing and a lot of time with customers to learn, and you spend all this time getting to something, or sometimes you kind of quickly get to something, and then I'm like, let's go, like it's the direction, let's do it. And I need to be more adaptable. In the month of July, some of you might know this, you get thunderstorms. In the summer, you get thunderstorms up high. I had 27 straight days of thunderstorms, 27 straight days where it rained every single day. So you try and have a plan, and Mother Nature doesn't care what your plan is, like things are going to happen. And so I ended up what I affectionately called hugging a tree, and rain would be coming down, or it was crazy lightning and thunder, and I'd find a tree that kind of looked a little bushier, and I would just get up really close. One particular day, it was really bad. There was a group of them, and I just kind of like jammed myself in between some trees. I fell asleep for about an hour until it passed. And that was not in my plan at all. But I learned that sometimes like stopping, going slower is actually a lot faster. And I'm sure I've read a book or saw people speak on this topic before about there's lots of good tales about this, and I didn't learn until I was painfully made aware that I needed to operate differently. I needed to be far more adaptable than, honestly, if you had asked a year ago, I was, I'm very adaptable. No, not really.
So now I'm picturing a combination of Forrest Gump and Castaway. It's a full Tom Hanks movie going on here. So yeah, I mean, listen, super fascinating stuff. I have so many questions. I mean, I wrote a bunch down, but now I really have weird questions. Like, what did you miss most on the trail?
So before I did this, I did a long weekend. I spent 4 days alone backpacking in Arkansas. It was close-ish to where I live. You don't have these amazing mountains so close to me. And I didn't see anybody until like the last afternoon of that 4th day. And I'm like, this is amazing, like absolute peace and quiet. I'm here alone. I really can think, and I was journaling, and it was just wonderful. And then I came out here, and it was incredibly harder And what became so clear, it might be so obvious to all of you about what I'm about to say, is I missed people. I was doing it solo, but there in the summertime through a lot of the big trails in this country, there are others. And I was choosing to say hi and pass people up. You kind of leapfrog here and there, but I was choosing to, to camp on my own and be alone. I wanted that time. And what I realized is I missed that connection with people. And things eventually, the last 5 days, I ended up becoming just really best friends. We became what is called a trail family or a tramily with 2 school teachers, half my age, one from Houston, Texas, Becky and Mary from Vermont. 2 incredibly different people. We would never have connected anywhere else if you had put us in the room where we were the only people. But we were there to kind of see each other a bit, camp together, talk, to share really interesting stories. And I was better. My mental health was better. Especially had some really weird freak out moments in my own mind because I was trying to do something incredibly hard alone. And that's where it comes back to teams, like getting out of your own head, even if you are the most brilliant person in the room, and I'm sure many of you are, like coming in and getting that other perspective is really key, and very diverse perspectives. If you look around at your team and it's not as diverse, there's no excuse in this world today where there's a lot of hybrid working to not have an incredibly diverse team. Go and recruit and hire from diverse pools. Don't, if you're in a position where, hey, I can't do all the hiring decisions, raise your hand and say, come on, we need to make a change. Go somewhere where there's more diversity, create that kind of change. Because in my case, it wasn't that I missed I missed my wife, I missed my family. Some great advice that came from my daughter. She's like, when you're down, you should just have a dance party on the trail. And there's things like that helped me. It was the kind of the weirdness with my family, but it was the diverse people that I met that made me like think differently. You can talk, if you want to talk about yoga breathing later, which I have never known anything about. I learned from Mary, who is a yoga instructor out of Vermont, lives in a tiny, tiny little home. Probably would have never connected with her before. She changed my life. Absolutely love her. And we spent 5 days together.
So cliche.
So it is very cliche, but it's that I bring that back to like diversity in our teams and really opening yourself up. And here I had sort of a crazy experience that I chose to put myself in that just made the point even more clear that we need to surround ourselves with different type of people. Get out of your neighborhoods, right? Get out of your company. That's where I love brand innovators. Because oftentimes if you go look at your network, right? Go look at who you're connected to on LinkedIn. It says a lot to do with where you've worked. And here today, there's a lot of other people. If you're sitting next to someone you came in with, you're missing the whole point of brand innovators. This is to get to know other people, to be a community. Really grateful for meeting Mark 9 or so years ago when the company was young. You're about almost 11 years in, so congratulations. Ariel actually moved from New York to come here to really start something special in Denver. Take advantage of that. This is your group, diverse perspectives, different ways of thinking. If you get tired of your boss, like a lot of jobs next door, down the table.
I like how he pointed to me. Exactly. Right. So I love that you started this session talking about how you prepared. Weeks, months, planning. I oftentimes get into the mindset of, okay, preparation is the key to execution. And then you talk about how things get derailed. And my dad always taught me, if you want to make God laugh, you tell him your plans, right? So talk to me about when you were planning this trip, you're packing your bag. What do you think you would have liked to have packed that you completely forgot to? And how
yeah.
Talk about how that extends to the industry.
I love that you started this off talking about how much time we go into preparing. We've not talked about anything. There's not a single question we talked about. That one's really good. So I planned everything that I could and probably more. So this was 500 miles. I actually hiked 230 miles and biked almost 1,300 miles before coming. Because I'm an old guy and I've had a bunch of other I would go into all the things I've had changed in my body to fix this thing and that thing, from silly, motorcycle accidents, other things over the years. So I tried to do as much as I could. What you can't, and getting your gear and food and like where you're going. But I think this is so true in life, and certainly in us and the products that we market, that we sell, and everything else, is you can't entirely plan for what you are going to experience in the real world. You can't plan. There's no way I could plan for, in my mind, I was going to do this whole solo experience. I knew that most people were going to be college students or school teachers that were much younger going. I was like, what do I have in common with any of them? I want to do my own thing. And yet the best part of this whole experience is when I just opened up and said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this differently. So I don't know if there's anything I wished I would have planned differently. I'm planning to do this again. My goal is over. So I did this. I stacked up some vacation and went, and I'm fortunate that my boss and the team at AT&T are really supportive of people following their passions. Because when I went into my boss, I had planned to say I'm leaving, like I'm doing this, and I was like, the answer is going to be no, and I was like, I'm out of here. That's a good excuse. I'm gone. I'm going to go do it. And I had friends that were like, yes, go. And then she said, that's awesome. And I went, oh, okay. She doesn't know yet, and maybe she'll see this as a recording, that I'm planning to do this for many years ahead, but I'd like to do the full Pacific Crest Trail, which is Mexico to Canada, up through the Sierras, the Cascades, through Oregon and Washington. And next summer, planning to hike across the state of Washington. This time though, this is what preparing differently is one of my sons, who's in between some stuff in college, is going to go. This year, they thought Dad was crazy, which I might be. But they're willing to go. And so I'm going to share that experience. And I'll have other crazy stories to tell, which would probably fracture our relationship in some ways.
I really hope you like each other after
separate tents.
Okay.
All right. Start the day, maybe end the day together, and like do your own thing. Hike your own hike in the middle. He will probably ditch Dad. It'll be like a week ahead of me, but that's okay.
So other than the planning, what did you get completely wrong?
Completely wrong was that I was prepared to really look inside myself, because I thought I was so prepared. And I'm being encouraged to write a book, and I will. And it'll probably be so much that it'd just be stuff that I hold on to my family, because whether you spend a day out on your own, or whether you do meditation, or whether you have a therapist that you meet with, like there is something incredibly healthy and healing about really looking inside and saying, who am I, and how can I be a better human? How can I be better to the people that I care about? There's one more story I'll share. I'm not sure how much we're doing for time. Probably the most beautiful thing, and I usually tear up when I tell a story. One of the most beautiful thing that I saw throughout this whole experience is there are people that will go out for a day or a weekend, and will go be what are called trail angels. They'll set up somewhere. It might be on the top of Kenosha Pass or somewhere even more remote, and they'll have a cooler full of drinks and maybe some sandwiches and whatever, and just sit there and just say hi, and offer some moral support and some much needed like clean water and food for these crazy, really stinky people, 2 showers in a month, people that come through. But there was these 2 women who, 2 sisters who had done the trail, Colorado Trail, like 10 years ago. And they come up for 2 weeks every summer. They have 4-wheel drive vehicles and trailers. They go to a really remote section that was just really tough. And they set up camp there for 2 weeks, and day and night, they just have a campsite for hikers. And they have a bunch of friends that come with them now. And I had plate-sized pancakes and bacon and some clean water. I spent about an hour there with them. And despite me trying and others, they won't take $1 in donations or anything else. But as I come into that camp and these other trail angels that I met, not once did anybody ask who I voted for, what my religion is, where I'm from. Everybody just said, come in. You're doing something amazing and just there to support. And how much better would our country, our world be if we just realized that everybody is on a hike, everybody's on some sort of journey, and it may just be getting up that day and just having the courage to get through that day, or it might be doing something crazy on a long journey, but we're all there at various points. Instead of asking and judging people based upon the fact that, you know, they don't seem to be doing something, we don't see what you can't see. But we all are real people that have real issues. And if we just cheered each other on, it'd be absolutely beautiful. My sort of sad way of bringing that back to marketing is that I think if we just celebrated our customers more, celebrated the people that we wanted to sell something to, if we earned the right by celebrating them, we earned the right for them to consider us when they are ready to purchase something. This whole marketing gig that we all do would feel a whole lot better. Our brand loyalty scores would all go off the chart. I think we'd feel better about our jobs as we look ourselves in the mirror at the end of the day. We're just out helping people and trying to fill a need.
I mean, that's the mic drop, right? I can't even follow that up with a question. You know, you and I discussed this on the phone that we overlapped at Microsoft. And I'm really sad that we didn't get to know each other then and that we didn't cross paths, but I'm really grateful that, you know, we had the time to speak on the phone and have the time up here. You have literally changed my perspective on things today, just with what you delivered, and hopefully that resonated with the rest of the audience. So thank you. Really, really great stuff.
Thank you. Thanks everybody for being here.
Yeah, sure. Any questions for me? Come on, bring them.
Wow. Well, this was definitely a finale session. So thank you so much for your vulnerability, honesty, inspiration, and all of the above. So I think my question, I mean, there's so much to say. First of all, I think Brand Innovators needs to do a trip like this for marketing leaders. So maybe you can help pioneer that. So I think my question, the one that I'm going to ask, is that I think there's a lot of people out there that want to dive into more initiatives like you have in terms of hiking and doing these really crazy things and starting new hobbies. But they might feel constrained to, you know, the busyness of life and work and family. What is your advice to people who are looking to start that journey, and how can they maybe make more time for going outside, for, you know, doing the things that they love?
There we go. Kind of a cliche answer, but I'm going to make it a little more real. Is to start with one step. I also think it's really important that all of us internalize and believe that your health, your time, your thinking time is valuable. Why do we not take that time for ourselves? So that's a whole other set of things. And my wife is a therapist. There's lots of other therapists to talk about that kind of thing. If you don't believe that you're worth that, but that's actually a real issue. Like that you are worth that it's okay to step away. The FOMO, that's a little bit of like missing out on some sort of work thing or some other kind of opportunity. The second one in terms of getting outside is don't start with hiking across the state, okay? Start with just going out for a few minutes or an hour. I've taken a lot of groups. I have a chance to volunteer with scouting and outdoor groups for both boys and girls. Love the girls groups so much better because they're out there cheering each other. You got this, you can do it. The boys are like, come on, you suck, you're too slow. So different, so different. But instead of talking about the number of days or the number of miles or anything else, just say, let's just go out and then talk for an hour. Just go out and talk for an hour. You do not need to go to REI and spend a bunch of money to go walk for an hour. You don't even need any of that if you're going to go up to some lake here. You just go with what you have. Make it very simple and you'll be just fine. And from there, you continue to do more and more. But the thing that I would absolutely say is a must is all the technology that we've got in our phones and our wrists and everything else. Turn it off. Turn it off. Keep your phone if you're going to take pictures, but go into flight mode and just turn it off. And what you will notice is that we all have a little bit of like, okay, did something vibrate? I think I felt something. And you've got to go long enough to where that fades away and you realize, oh my gosh, I am a slave to the technology that my company sells. It keeps you connected on. I know. That's right. But you know what, here's the thing. Like, I don't want to, like, at the end of my life, look back and be like, what did I do? I got lots of people to use technology and to keep themselves connected to a phone. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing. But you have to find time for humanity, you have to find time for ourselves. And that means disconnecting. And oftentimes doing that by yourself as well, or go out with somebody and just far enough that you don't have to hear somebody else. You can be alone in your own thoughts. That is the best and cheapest therapy that you could ever get. There you go. Skiing as well.
Hi, I'm Esmeralda. Full transparency, I work on John's team, and I've learned a lot from you from just the session that I've known, having known you for a while. So my question is, what would older John tell younger John who's just starting out in the world of marketing?
Yeah, great question. I would be doing more reflection earlier on. So early in my career, and my family knows this well, it's one of the things that I apologized again for when I was out on this trail, this experience this summer, was I spent in 10 years, I did more than 1.3 million miles of air travel in a 10-year span. I was on a great run professionally. It was awesome. Had jobs across the globe and was traveling in lots of different countries for the first time. I mean, everywhere. And it was amazing. If anybody wants to talk over dinner, we talk about, places throughout Southeast Asia or Europe, and it was amazing. But ultimately, I was doing that alone with lots of people around me, but I was alone. And at the time, like, it was the best thing for my family from a financial standpoint, but it wasn't the best thing for me from a health perspective. I finished that run. I was 50 pounds heavier than I am today. And I remember going in and seeing a doctor, and he's like, you are morbidly obese and you're just on a track for, for unhappiness, a whole bunch of things. No. I was really mad. And the weight doesn't matter. I felt like garbage. I just felt like garbage. It was like Red Bull to wake up in a country and then a sleeping pill to go to sleep. It was really, really bad. And maybe you're not living in that extreme, but you have to take care of yourself. There's money to be made everywhere, titles and companies, like, so what? More important that you are in a place that you feel happy and balanced, and that you're going to end this career, this life, whatever it is, and you're going to feel good about yourself and the difference you've made in the world. So I screwed that up. Tough times, my marriage as a piece of that. Some stuff I screwed up as a dad. But I hope that I'm fixing it. My wife's a therapist, that helps, or makes it really hard too. Anyway, that answer your question.